Hello my dear students, welcome to our chapter 1, matter in our surroundings. First of all, I hope you all are in nice health, safe, sound, healthy. Now coming back to our chapter, matter in our surroundings, first chapter. Of course, this deals with the matters that are in our surroundings. 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, gas are the 3 states of matter. Before that, basically we have to understand that what are the properties of matter. Matter means basically anything that you can feel, that you can sense, anything that you can see with your eyes. Basically that is matter. Anything that you can see, feel, that is matter. So now if you go according to our textbook, first they have given us some experiments. Basically, see if actually what they have done. See, if you take a beaker and supposing 100 ml of water you take in that, and you put some, actually they have put potassium permanganate in that. I don't know how many of you people must have seen potassium permanganate, but when you put potassium permanganate into the water gets a color, a dark blue color. If you consider instead of that, you can think about putting some your ink also. You can put some amount of ink in it. In this, supposing if this is 100 ml of water, so the moment you put 1 spoon of ink in it, so definitely this will become dark blue. The water will become dark blue. And actually speaking, if you will see, if you really slowly, steadily leave it from one side and don't stir it, you just leave it from one side. When the the ink drop, it drops into the water. First, it will be seen over here. It travels inside the water. I am telling the use travels, which is not the right scientific word, just for you to understand that it doesn't get and immediately mixes. It nicely, you can make out that it is nicely, that activity, scientific activity is called as diffusing. The ink particles diffuses into the water particles, and that happens slowly, steadily, with nice shape, crystal-like shape, smoky shape, every different type of shape it takes and goes and diffuses into the water. Afterwards, what you have to do is that you take another beaker. Here you can take supposing 90 ml of water. 90 ml of water. And from here you are supposed to remove 100 ml of water. Sorry, 10 ml of water. 10 ml you are supposed to remove from here. And this 10 ml you have to pour in this. Of course, before this water is clear water. The moment you pour this 10 ml into it, it becomes 100 ml. And now if you will see this water, that also is no more clear now. It will also turn blue. Of course, now here if you will see how the ink, the pure ink, got diffused into this water in a typical manner, typical shape and nice. Same, it will not diffuse over here. It will just go into it and turn the whole water bluish. Then you can take another beaker, same activity, take 100 ml of water in this, take 10 ml of this solution, and you took 90 ml over here, 90 ml, and then 10 ml of this, so that it becomes 100 ml. Again this will become bluish. Definitely the color of the blue will go on becoming faint, but definitely it will go on whatever the amount of dilution you go through. Even if you take 10 beakers like this, the 10th beaker will also show you bluish water. What does this mean? We have to understand the activity, my dear students. It is definitely this activity will, in science what happens now, my dear students, basically we all feel that it is normal, theek hai na yaar, what is there? Same if you do in salt water with salt. If you do with salt, if you take 1 spoonful of salt, put it in this beaker, definitely it will become salty. The water will become salty. Then I take normal glass of water, take 1 spoon from here and pour that in this water. Definitely this water will also become salty. What is there in that? So what is the new thing that you are speaking? I'll again put into other one, that also will become salty. Definitely the concentration of salty taste will go on decreasing. The first beaker will be very salty. You will not be able to even swallow the water. Second will be less salty. The concentration of salty taste will go on decreasing, but definitely salty taste will be there. What is new in that? But that's what it is, my dear students. You have to observe things, because this small activity opens many doors for you. What does this say? That this says that basically the moment the ink particles are getting mixed into the water particles. See, they are not getting mixed like actually if a wheat grain you mix with rice grains and then you can separate them. You can separate the wheat grains mixed with the rice grains. You can separate them. This is not that type of mixing. This is something different. If you pour milk into a water, can you again separate milk from water? It is not possible. So what is this mixing? This is not a normal mixing. This is basically the particles have entered into each other. The ink particles have entered into the water particles. They are two different liquids, two different matter, two different objects, two different substances, whatever you say. Ink is different and water is different. But now when you pour ink into the water, the ink particles have entered into the water particles. The moment they have entered into the water particles, it means what? It means there was gap inside the water particles which your eyes cannot see. But definitely the ink particles could make out that gap and they could enter into the gap of the water particles. There is a gap. This is what you have to understand. That means the particles of matter, whatever matter you are talking about. See, even if you take a chalk, you put water in it, it will be absorbed inside. That means that chalk particles have spaces over there, and that space that water has gone and sat. Means whatever the matter is there, matter has space inside it, is important. Are you getting, my dear students? Now you will be thinking, definitely you will be thinking about same, does it happen with iron? Iron, if I put water on iron, will it go and sit over there? No, it will not sit. But then why? That doesn't mean that iron particles don't have space between them. It doesn't mean that. Every particle of matter has space between them. We will learn now itself, in this topic itself, how this goes on differing from each other, how they are different from each other. We will learn it in the better way. But at present, understand that matter, in a matter, particles have space among them. Okay? And they are always in motion. They are always in motion. Gas is in motion. Liquid is in motion. They are always in motion. If they would have, these liquid particles would have not been in motion, then definitely this ink would have just left, would have gathered over here and kept quiet over there. But the ink is not gathering and keeping quiet over there. It is slowly, steadily spreading all over the water particles, and is within a matter of few minutes, it has spread all over the water. That means that particles are moving constantly. They were moving constantly. Even if you take something which is very sticky, honey, grease, which is very, very sticky, dense liquid, which does not have high fluidity. Even if you put a drop of honey over here, even honey after a long period of time, definitely honey will not mix with water, it will not diffuse as fast as ink does. Honey will diffuse very slowly, but it will diffuse. It will take some time, more time than ink, but diffusion will be there. Means the particles inside honey are also moving. Particles in water are also moving. That's why they are diffusing. See, diffusing is a very nice word, my dear students. This you will come to know in, this you will be handling very much in biology also. Diffusion take place, huge role in biology. Diffusion means basically one particle, particles of one matter enter into the particles of other matter, and then they get, in normal English, mixed up. But actually that mixed up will not be the word used in biology. They will say that the blood has got, no sorry, the oxygen has got diffused into the blood. Oxygen has got diffused into the blood. So that is what, they will not use the word mixed, but mixed is a plain English word. Diffuse means basically it will go, the particles of one object will go and sit into the spaces of the particles, between the particles of other object. That is diffusion. So particles have space, particles are constantly moving. Because they are constantly moving, that's why they are diffusing, they are playing a role over there. And what is there? Something more also is there. Textbook. And of course they are moving, they possess, because they are moving, they will possess a kinetic energy. Because the particles are moving, they have a kinetic energy. Definitely anything that is in motion has a kinetic energy. One thing is more. See, these all things you will understand in depth when we go into the next topic. All the particles attract each other. All the particles attract each other. See, when I am telling, I took the activity in which two objects were involved. One is ink, the other one is water. Two objects were involved. But when I am telling about the properties, then actually I am talking about the properties of one matter. When I say matter has, the particles in matter have space among them, then I am talking about the particles of matter of one object. Water particles have space among them. That's why ink particles are able to go and diffuse. But at a time I am talking about the property of the particles of water, one matter. Particles of one matter, they are keeping on moving. They are in constant motion. Any one particle also, they are in constant motion. And that's why they possess a kinetic energy. These particles attract each other. One molecule of water, other molecule of water, they are attracting each other. They are attracting each other. They are not letting go. See, that is the difference you will come to know in detail when you go into the next topic again. But at whatever the level of, see, what is the amount of space among particles of matter will differ from matter to matter. With what force one particle is attracting other particle will again differ from matter to matter. But whatever matter is there, the particles of matter attract each other. Some attract with greater force, some means now different objects I am talking about. They will attract, some particles of one matter will attract with greater force, particles of other matter will attract with weak force. Are you getting? So it is like that. And the one more thing is that, of course, every matter has mass. Whatever it is, every matter has mass. It can be heavy, it can be low, less mass, but every particle, every matter has mass. These are the properties of matter. Okay, then you talk about the activities that are given to you, or the textual questions that are given to you. Which of the following are matter? See, now basically we have understood that what is matter. Anything that you can feel, you can see, is matter. Now you think over here, the reasons they have given a chair. Chair is definitely a matter. Air is matter. Definitely you can feel it. Smell. Now here, now my dear students, you have to be clear with your idea. Smell and perfume are two different things. Smell and perfume are two different things. When you use a perfume, you smell a perfume, but smell is a sense. Smell is not a matter. Perfume is creating a smell. Perfume is a matter. Smell, see, fire can be a matter. Fire is heat, is creating heat. Heat is not matter. Are you getting? Similarly, means these are the things that you have to understand. Smell is something that is created out of a perfume. It is a sense. It is not matter. You can't feel, you can sense smell. You can't feel smell. Like I can feel air, but I can't feel smell. Okay, so that's why smell is not matter. Perfume is matter, because perfume is an object, a liquid, a solid, whatever it is an object which is creating smell. Smell is a sense. So smell is again hate. See, hatred, hate, again it is a feeling, abstract thing. It is not matter. Almonds that you eat, almonds, cashew nuts and all, they are definitely matter. You can feel them, they are objects. Thought is that what you think. Again, you can't feel it. You can't, means you, it is not that what you can feel it, or it's not an object. Thought is again an abstract thing. It is basically not a matter. Sorry, my dear students. Cold, see, coldness, coolness, heat, hot, they are again senses that you are going to have. You can sense them. The cold is basically a sense that it is not an object, it is not a matter. Cold drink, that is the lemonade, lemon water, definitely it is a matter because it is an object. Okay. Smell of perfume, definitely. Smell of perfume. Smell of perfume. Now this smell of perfume is definitely a matter. Why it is a matter? See, perfume has some particles in it. Perfume has some particles in it. These particles of perfume diffuse into the air particles. As I told you, when particles of one object, one matter mixes with the particle of other matter, that is, they diffuse among each other. So the particles of perfume diffuses with the particles of air. It is these particles of perfume, when they reach your nose, you are able to smell them. So now you are basically smelling a particle of perfume. It is not a normal smell. It is not a normal smell, that the smell is of the sensory organ. No, at this time when you are taking a smell of any food, any cooked food that is being cooked, at that time it is definitely a matter, because at that time there are particles of that food which have entered into the gas particles. Basically, try to understand, not the food. Means if you say that it is biryani, the biryani has not entered into the air. It is basically the vapor that is coming out from biryani. It has got that particles of that is in the biryani qualities. The aroma of the biryani has gone into the air, and these particles are now mixing in the air and they are reaching you. So that basically is a smell of a food, is definitely a matter. Okay. So likewise we are going, and now there are some reasons also given over here. The smell of a hot sizzling food reaches you several meters away, but to get the smell from cold food you have to go close. See my dear students, here actually speaking I should have taken one more activity over here. See, if I take this water and I drop ink drop in this water, so definitely it will diffuse. It will take some time to diffuse within a matter of few minutes. But if supposing I would have taken hot water over here, nicely hot water, strong hot water over here, and I would have poured that drop of ink in that hot water, would it take same amount of time to get diffused? No, my dear students, it will diffuse faster. Why will it diffuse faster? Because my dear students, see, as I told you, the particles of water are constantly in motion, that's why they possess a kinetic energy. Particles of hot water will be in faster motion. They have got rigorous motion, more motion, because they have got more kinetic energy. So they are moving faster than the cold water. Cold water will be moving slowly and this will be moving faster. Are you getting? So that's why, because here the motion of water is fast, the ink particles, they will diffuse faster over here. So basically the temperature of the particle plays an important role in rate of diffusion. Rate of diffusion means how fast the diffusion is. That is called as rate of diffusion. Very important word, very important language of science. Rate is always the speed. Rate is always the speed. When it comes to market, when it comes to commerce, when it comes to business, rate is always money. But definitely money with regard to what? Supposing 30 rupees per dozen means 30 rupees for 12 bananas. 12 bananas will cost you 30 rupees. The rate is always per dozen, per kg. So it is something like that. Rate is always with respect to something. Price is always price. Price of this book is 150 rupees. So it is a price. Now I can't call it a rate. But if I say anybody that 150 rupees is the price of this book, but if you will take in 100, then I will make the price as 130 per 100 books. Now this has become a rate. So similarly, when you talk about rate of diffusion, so how fast it is, how many particles are getting diffused per unit time. In science, usually the rate is with regard to time, because speed is with regard to time. Speed is with respect to time. If an object is moving fast, it is moving fast means it is covering more distance in less amount of time. Speed is always with respect to time. Anything that covers more distance in less time, then it is fast. Okay, if both of them are moving with a speed of 80 kilometer, but you have to tell 80 kilometer per what? If one is moving with the speed of 80 kilometer per hour and the other is moving with the speed of 80 kilometer per half hour, then definitely the other one is faster, because he is covering 80 kilometer in half hour. The first one is covering 80 kilometer in 1 hour. So rate always depends. It is definitely the speed of anything, speed of diffusion, speed of evaporation, speed of, it can be anything, but then it is always with respect to time. So here the rate of diffusion is higher in hot substances. When substance is hot, the diffusion is faster, or the rate of diffusion is high. Are you getting, my dear students? So this is what you have to understand. And why it is? Because hot substances, the motion of particles in hot substances is faster compared to that in cold substances, and that's why the rate of diffusion in the hot substances is more compared to that of the rate of diffusion in cold substances. So now coming back to our topic, the question is, the smell of hot sizzling food reaches you several meters away. You are several meters away. You are basically maybe in your house, and some nice modak or jalebis or rasgullas are made in the neighbor's house, and you can smell them over here. Ah, nice Varuna. Why it is? When they are hot, they will reach you. But the same jalebi, if it would have been cold, if it is cold, the aroma will not reach you. The reason is that same thing. When the food is hot, the rate of diffusion is faster, and that's why the food particles diffuse faster in the air and reaches you several meters away. But same when the food is cold, the rate of diffusion is very less, and that's why they don't diffuse easily in the air, and that's why they don't travel. You have to go closer to these food particles to smell them. Are you getting my point? So here the rate of diffusion plays an important role. That is the key word that you have to use over here. Then comes, a diver is able to cut through the water of a swimming pool. Which property of matter does the observation show? See here what the very funny activity means. If a swimming pool is there and a diver jumps into the water, so he goes into the water, he is able to cut the water and he is going to be able to go into the water. Same activity, if supposing there is no water and he does on the floor, what will happen? Will he cut into the floor and go inside? No. Why he is able to do it in the case of the water? The reason is very simple, my dear students. Now only I told you, particles of water, I did not tell you this, I told you something else. I'm really sorry for using those words. I told you that the particles of matter have force of attraction among them. Definitely they have force of attraction among them, but this force of attraction is different for different types of matter. The force of attraction among the water is much more weak. That's why when a diver dives into it, he can separate those water and enter into the water. But among the solid particles, the force of attraction is very strong, and he is unable to cut it, separate the particles, and he is unable to enter into the solid particles. Are you getting? This is scientific terms. Basically, sometimes we feel that what is the sense in talking this type of things, because you can see you can't enter into a solid. I can't think about entering into this wall and piercing and going through the wall. Same if this would have been a waterfall, I would have definitely gone through it. But they want you to understand certain concepts, my dear students, which they may sound funny, but there are certain concepts that they have to make you understand. See, basically one more activity they have used over here. Supposing there is a running water in the tap, and you hold your finger in that water, the water will definitely come, it will get separated, and again it comes over here and flows, it again joins. It is not that it gets cuts and it, like a apple where you cut, so the two pieces are gone flowing away. It's not happening like that. Some water droplets will definitely flow away, but majority of the water will definitely come, rejoin and flow down. This only shows that particles of water attract each other. They definitely attract each other. Are you getting? So the diver is over. What are the characteristics of particles of matter? So we have learned that particles of matter have space among them. Particles of matter are always in motion, that's why they have a kinetic energy. Particles of matter diffuse among each other. They have mass. And what? That's all. But that is more than sufficient. Okay, fine. Now let us go to the next topic. Now, states of matter. States of matter, we have to understand this very nicely. This is a central idea of the topic. See, basically states of matter, you have to understand there are only 3 states according to your syllabus: solid, liquid and gas. Definitely there is actually one more state that is called as plasma state, which is not your topic. It is not even in 10th. Plasma state comes in 12th or something like that. Gas. Fine. So here what you have to understand is that with respect to solid, liquid, gas, see my dear students, now I will first explain you. I told you that particles of matter attract each other. They definitely attract each other. Now what happens, but this force of attraction, why is solid solid? Why is solid a solid? Why it is not flowing like a liquid? What is that makes him different? Solid makes it different from liquid, and what is that makes liquid different from gas? See, there are some properties, they have got different properties. Basically what happens, force of attraction between the particles, when the force of attraction between the particles is extremely strong, they are holding each other very tight. They are holding each other very tight because the force of attraction is very strong. The distance between the particles is very minute. Very minute. That is in the case of iron. Iron, the force of attraction between the particles is very strong. That's why there is definitely space between the particle is there in case of iron, because it is a matter. Space is definitely but the space between the particle is too tiny, too minute. That's why other particles can't go and make a space for themselves over there. That's why water can't enter into iron. But space is there. Space is definitely there. The force of attraction, when the force of attraction between the particles is very strong, because of which the space between the particles is very less, then it is a solid state. This happens in solid state. Every particle, like if you talk about iron, you talk about, actually when you study, the best example is taken of water, ice, steam. But even if you consider for iron also, the particles when they are in the solid state, they are strongly bounded to each other, and they basically still are moving over there. They are actually vibrating, something like that. All the atoms are vibrating in that small tiny space. They are still vibrating. They are still moving. They are still having kinetic energy. Definitely. So what if they are iron? Iron particles. They are still minute space, but in that minute space the atoms are constantly moving over there. They are moving like this. And when you heat this iron, the particles gain temperature, and with that gain in temperature, the particles gain kinetic energy. With the more kinetic energy, now first they were moving in a very small space, now they start moving in a big space, they start moving in a big space, they start moving in a big space, they start occupying more space, and slowly, steadily at a temperature, some temperature, these iron particles also will start moving in a greater space, and they will turn into a liquid. They will turn into a liquid, and suddenly the iron also will start flowing like water. Basically, the difference between the liquid iron and solid iron is this only, that the force of attraction between the solid iron particles was much more stronger, and because of that the space between the iron particles was much more small, tiny space. But as you supplied energy to it, you supplied heat to it, the kinetic energy of the particles went on increasing. With that increase in the kinetic energy, the motion went on increasing. With that motion, increase in the motion, the distance between the particles went on increasing, and then the force of attraction went on decreasing, because the distance is more. the force of attraction went on in decreasing. When magnet is closer to each other, it will attract the other magnet. You keep the magnet away, it will not be able to attract it now. Because with the increase in the distance, the force of attraction becomes weaker. The force of attraction becomes weaker. But it is still there. It is not allowing it to go beyond a boundary. And in that limited area, they are keeping each other bounded. That's why it is liquid. If the same heat you are still providing to the liquid ion, you go on providing the liquid ion the heat, and a level will come which is very high, the temperature is very high, where the ion particles will break the bond between each other and they will flow into the air. That is called as gaseous state of ion. Okay, that will be called as gaseous state of ion, but definitely we don't do the experiment of ion because this is a huge temperature that I'm talking about, which is near to impossible to achieve. Normally we take the temperature, take the example of water. When it is solid, that is in ice, here also same thing happens. The force of attraction between the water molecules in case of ice is very strong. That's why ice, the distance between the water molecules is very less, and that's why ice is in solid state. That is what happens when ice is in solid state. When you provide heat to ice, the water molecules, they gain energy, they gain kinetic energy with which they start moving randomly with a greater amplitude, with a greater space, and the force of attraction goes on becoming weaker, and slowly, steadily, ice melts into liquid. Something more also happens in between. Then the ice melts into liquid. When ice comes into liquid form, the force of attraction has become weaker and the space between the particles has increased. You provide more heat to it. Provide more heat to it. The more kinetic energy it will gain. It will start moving with greater space, and then a time will come when it will break the bonds and the particles will move in all the possible directions, occupying all the amount of space available to it. And that time there will be no force of attraction between them, near to nil, and that will be gaseous state. Are you getting, my dear students? This basically is a sketchy idea that I am giving what happens when the state is getting converted. Same will happen when you go in reverse fashion. If supposing there is hot air, steam is there, you gather the steam in one jar and then you go on decreasing the temperature of that steam, or you go on applying pressure on that steam, anything. Either you go on, because temperature can be reduced in both the ways. You cool it like we do in freezer, or you apply huge amount of pressure on that steam. Even then the temperature is getting cooled. At that time the steam will get liquefied. It will convert into liquid. You remove the heat from the liquid. You withdraw the heat from the liquid. The kinetic energy possessed by the liquid particle will go on reducing, and then they will come in a smaller range. They will come in a smaller range, and slowly, steadily they will get converted into solid. Are you getting, my dear students? So this is the process. Of course, in between also there is something happening. We will come to that also. But at present, at this moment, our topic is to understand solid, liquid and gas, and we have to understand in a deeper way. First we understood, let us understand topic wise. See, when we talk about shape, I don't know whether this will be sufficient. First is that we talk about shape. Solids have definite shape, right? They have definite shape. They don't change their shape. Fine. They have definite shape. What about liquid? They don't have a definite shape. They take the shape of a container. You keep them in a bowl, they will take the shape of a bowl. You keep them in a pot, they will take the shape of a pot. You keep them in a cylinder, they will take the shape of a cylinder. So they take the shape of container in which they are kept. Gas, they don't have any shape. They don't have any shape. They just occupy all the amount of space available to them. No shape. They just occupy all the amount of space available to them. Now, fine. Next is volume. Volume means basically, volume means how much space will they occupy. Shape is what is the shape. Space is how much space will they occupy. So definitely here they also have a definite shape and a definite volume. Definite shape, definite volume. Once they know that this much amount of space they are going to take, so they are going to take that only amount of space. You have a block of iron or this pen, I keep it over here, it will take this much amount of space. I keep it in a pot, it will take same amount of space. I cannot keep it in a smaller space. It cannot go and fit in a smaller space. It will require a space this much to this much. It has got a definite volume. And here they also have a definite volume, definitely. They also definitely have a definite volume. If you have got 500 ml of water, so you will have to keep it in a container which is 500 ml or more. You cannot keep it in a container which is lesser than that. Volume will be same, definitely, but the 500 volume you can take in any way. You can take bigger bottom, less height. As long as it is 500 ml, it will go and sit in it. You take less bottom, height, more, it will go and sit in that also. It will take that much amount of space. Are you getting? When it comes to gas, it does not have a definite value. No definite shape, no definite volume. Here also word definite is needed. No definite shape, no definite volume. Okay, here also there is no definite shape, actually speaking. Liquid also does not have a definite shape. It takes the shape of the container. Here also no definite shape, no definite volume. You can keep gas in a big jar and then open that gas jar into a big container. It will go and sit in that big container. It will take all the amount of space available to that. Then comes what we have to understand is one more important factor is the rigidity. Rigidity means how much rigid it is, or compressibility. Compressibility. Can I compress this? This is rigid. You can't compress, it is rigid. Rigid means it will not be ready to change its shape. Even if you take rubber, rubber is definitely not rigid. You can press it, it will change its shape, but you remove it, you release the pressure and it will come back to its shape. Okay, they basically, solids are basically highly rigid, not compressible, incompressible. Very less they may get compressed, but too minute, and that is negligible. You can't really take that thing into account. So rigid, highly rigid. Almost incompressible. You can't compress them. Here the rigidity goes on decreasing. Liquid are rigid, but not as rigid as solid. They are less rigid compared to solid. They can be compressible, less compressible, definitely, but we can compress them. We can compress them, but up to a very small extent. Gases not rigid at all and highly compressible. You can compress them like anything. You can take the volume of the air that is fit into this whole room, you can compress it into a small matchbox. If you can take a cube of a size of a matchbox, you can compress this in that. Only thing is that it may, while you compress it at such a high level, then it may convert into liquid. That can happen. See, LPG gas cylinders that we see, if you take the gas cylinders when they come, if you slightly move it, you will be able to feel some liquid in it. Basically, it is highly compressed gas. So much it is compressed that basically it converts into liquid, but it is gas which is highly compressed. So gas can be compressed and they can be highly compressed. Okay. Now next is, of course, you have to understand this. These are all important things, my dear students. You will be able to write many more things if you want to understand this. Intermolecular spaces. Intermolecular spaces means the spaces between the molecules. As I told you, the spaces between the molecules over here is very, very, very less. Solids have very less intermolecular spaces. Liquid has more intermolecular spaces. Gases, tremendous amount of intermolecular spaces. Okay, so what you write? Okay, here very minute intermolecular spaces. Definitely I don't have to write it. You have to understand this. Very minute intermolecular spaces. Here more than solid intermolecular spaces of one particle itself. Same particle I am talking about. If I talk about water, then I am talking about water only. Compared to ice, the intermolecular spaces in water will be more, but less than gas. If I compare with steam, the intermolecular forces over here is less, and here the intermolecular spaces are maximum here. Means maximum means, actually speaking, they will occupy all the amount of space available to them. They will make it as much as possible. Okay, so this is intermolecular spaces, and then intermolecular forces. Intermolecular forces of attraction, to be precise. Intermolecular forces of attraction here very strong. Very strong. Of course, you can take it anyway, because the intermolecular spaces are very less. That's why the intermolecular forces are very strong. They are very close to each other. That's why they hold very strongly to each other. Or because they are holding each other very strongly, that's why they are very close to each other. You can take it anyway. Very strong. Here the intermolecular space is weaker than solid, stronger than gas. Here very weak. Intermolecular forces of attraction is very weak. Okay, then this also is over. Of course, now we come to diffusion. Diffusion means particles of one matter entering into the particle of the other matter. So if solid and solid particles, they come together, diffusion will be near to impossible. Means it's not very, very, very less. Diffusion is almost, means near to impossible. You can't expect solid ink to diffuse into ice. Ice still it will be possible, because ice basically still it will not go. See, you can't consider this. If you take two solids, if you come together, diffusion is there, we can't say no, but too less. What are the examples of diffusion when it's solid to solid? If I consider a blackboard, or you take this solids who have got stains on them, these are basically diffusions of solid into solid, because stains stay over there and they take a lot of time for days and days, and then the particles of a stain enter into the particles of the solid and then they stay over there, then you can't clean them. That is what diffusion has taken place between solid into solid. That is basically almost impossible, or near to nil. When you talk about liquid, diffusion definitely is there. Diffusion more than solid, and this diffusion is very strong. It is very very strong, more than solid. Or here the diffusion is, you can call near to nil. Here the diffusion is easier than solid, and here diffusion is easiest or fastest. You can use any word, but diffusion is stronger in case of gas, and even compared to liquid they are stronger compared to solid they are stronger in liquid. But definitely when you compare liquid and gas, diffusion is stronger in gas, the easiest, strongest in gas, stronger in liquid compared to solid. In liquid, in solid there is near to nil. Diffusion is near to nil. One more important factor that you have to understand is basically fluidity. Fluidity is basically the property to flow. Solids don't flow, whereas liquids flow, and gases also flow. This I think you will be able to I have covered everything almost. Okay, this I think will be able to answer many things. They can ask you the characteristics of solid. The solid characteristic of solid will be this. Solids have definite shape, they have definite volume, they are highly rigid, they are incompressible, they have the intermolecular spaces between solids is very minute, intermolecular forces of attraction in solids are very strong. Then they undergo no diffusion, they don't show diffusion, and they don't exhibit fluidity. For solids are not fluid. Are you getting? Similarly, they will ask you, you can talk about the liquid, the properties of liquid, the properties of gases. This will help you to make out the properties of each of them. Also, they will help you to differentiate between solid and liquid, differentiate between liquid and gas, differentiate between solid and gas. Many more things will be covered. If you understand these concepts very nicely, so you will be able to understand many more questions. You will be able to make your own answers. You will be definitely able to face many questions based on these topics. Okay, my dear students. So now, one more thing before we go further. See, some give reasons are there. A gas fills completely the vessel in which it is kept. See, now you should be able to understand this. The dependence of give reason is there. A gas fills completely the vessel in which it is kept. So which property of gas you will take? See, gas is occupying all the amount of space. So basically, when you talk about intermolecular spaces, the maximum. The gas occupies all the amount of space available to it, because the intermolecular forces of attraction in gas is minimum, or there is no. As there is no intermolecular forces of attraction between the particles of gas, it's very, very weak, near to nil. That's why gas particles occupy maximum amount of space available to them. Are you getting my point? The question is what? Gas fills completely the vessel in which it is kept. So from where you should start, basically you should start from intermolecular forces of attraction. The intermolecular forces of attraction between the particles of gases is near to nil. Hence, the particles of gases occupy all the amount of space available to them. That's why gas fills completely the vessel in which it is kept. Here one more topic is there, my dear students. If you talk about gases, about the force they apply on the walls of the container. See, if I talk about one solid particle, if I talk about one wheat grain, I keep it in the particle, it will not apply force on all the walls of the particle of the container. It will apply force only on the vertically downward direction, whatever the space of the vessel is in contact with the wheat, it will apply the force on that. That's all. Liquid, again the same thing. They will apply the force on the container where they are in contact with the vessel. Are you getting? But not uniformly on all the parts of the vessel, walls of the vessel. Gases, the particles are moving in all possible direction randomly. In that motion, they collide with everything. They collide with each other also, and then they collide with the walls of the container also. That's why they apply pressure on the walls of the container. Are you getting? Gases will apply pressure, uniform pressure on the walls of the container. The best example is balloon. If you blow a balloon, so it will blow from all sides because it is a gas that you are blowing inside, and that's why it is applying pressure on all the walls of the balloon. Okay. Next is that only a gas exerts pressures on the walls of the container. So that is what I have explained you now. Second, a wooden table should be called a solid. Yes or no? Definitely it is a solid. Why? Because all the properties of solids have definite shape and volume. A table has a definite shape and volume. It is highly rigid and almost incompressible. That's why much more than sufficient. That's why table is a solid. We can easily move our hand in air, but to do the same through a solid block of wood, we need a karate expert. Same thing, my dear students. Say that actually when we talk about a diver is able to dive into the water, but he is unable to dive into the floor of the swimming pool. The reason is that only the intermolecular forces of attraction between the solid are much more stronger. And to break those intermolecular forces of attraction, you require a huge amount of energy, which a normal person doesn't have. But the intermolecular forces of attraction between the gas particles are almost nil, and hence to flow through the gas, we don't require much energy. See, this is what you have to understand, these intermolecular forces of attraction. These are the words, key words, that will play a huge amount of role in presenting your answers. Okay, my dear students. Liquids generally have lower density as compared to solids, but you must have observed that ice floats on water. See, basically solids, if you talk about the solid of same matter, then it will be denser. It will go and sit down. It will go and sit down. If you take solid block and you take liquid iron, you pour the solid block, it will go and sit down. But when it comes to liquid water, ice will float on water. The solid state of water is lighter than the liquid state of water. The reason is basically when it is in the solid form, the ice particles have huge amount of spaces in them compared to solids. In case of ice, it is slightly ulta. Liquid particles of water have less amount of space among them compared to the solid particles of water. Solid particles of water means ice have more amount of space among them. That's why it is able to float in liquid state, okay, over a liquid. So this is there. One more very important property is there, which I like to complete today because it goes in with connection with that. then I think only one topic will be remaining. Otherwise, I'll stop over here, my dear students. That's okay, that is better. I stop over here. Otherwise, it will take a huge time. Okay, my dear students, I stop over here. This thing you can take down. Tomorrow, I'll complete this chapter. Okay, my dear students. Thank you very much. Thank you.